Today we're going to start and talk about how to solve inequalities. Now there's a difference between inequalities and equations. Remember, an equation contains an equal sign. An inequality contains your less than, greater than, less than or equal to, or greater than or equal to signs. Also, when you're solving an inequality, your solutions will be more than 1 point. So when we look at our solutions in a minute, I may have several answers that can make that inequality true. So if we start with this equation, we have x plus 2 is equal to x plus 2 equals 12. I'm going to solve and I'm going to subtract 2 from both sides to get x equals 10. At this point, 10 is the only number that can go into my original statement up here to make that true. Okay, now let's look at the inequality. If I solve that inequality, I'm going to solve it the same way that I did my equations. So you're going to find your variable. You're going to get rid of what's with your variable. So I'm going to get rid of my plus 2. So that means I'm going to subtract 2. And therefore, x is less than 10. Okay, now x is representing any number that is less than 10. So that means it's 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, and I can keep going. Those are all numbers that are less than 10. Now, we want to represent that on a number line. This answer is going to be determined what goes in the middle. So I want my answer 10 to be in the middle. I want to go 2 above, and I want to go 2 below. Now, I don't have to go into the negatives. I don't have to go way more positive. I only need to see 2 to the left, 2 to the right, and I'm okay. Now, you're going to circle this answer here. So you're going to circle on the number line where 10 would be. Now, we have a choice to make whether it's going to be circled in or shaded. If it's going to be open or shaded. If I have less than or greater than, then my circle is going to be open, which says that I'm not going to include that answer, but the next spot over starts as a solution. So 10 cannot be a solution because 10 is not less than 10. 10.1 is less than 10, or 10.5, 11, I'm sorry, let's go back. Less than, it would be 9.9, 9.8, okay, 9, 8, 7. So those would be my numbers less than. So this one's going to be open. If I have less than and equal to, or greater than or equal to, then my circle is going to be shaded, which means that answer can be included. And we're going to do one of those here in a few minutes. Okay, so now that we know this is open, x represents all numbers less than, so I'm going to shade to the right, all the way to the arrow, and include the arrow. Now, if your variable is first, meaning if it's the first thing you read from left to right, your arrow here is going to point in the direction you will shade. Again, that's only if the variable is on the left. Okay? Let's look at this one. We have n minus 10. So to get rid of the subtract 10, we're going to add 10. So n is greater than 24. If I draw my number line, 24 is going to be my number in the middle. I'm going to go 2 above, 2 below. I'm going to circle my 24. It's going to be open because it's not containing 24. And my numbers are n is greater. So all the numbers greater than 24 are going to be past that. I'm going to shade all the way to the triangle or the arrow and shade in my arrow. Okay, we have y minus 3 is less than 4. So we'll add 3 to both sides. Y is less than 7. So 7, 8, 9, 6, and 5. I'm going to circle my 7, and I'm going to shade to the left. Let's do another one. Okay, this one we have a greater than or equal to, so I'm going to subtract 7 from both sides, so I get y is greater than or equal to 5. Now this time, when I do it, I have my 5 but I'm also going to, after I circle it, I'm going to shade it in because of the or equal sign right here. Y is representing all the numbers greater, so again, I'm going to shade that line arrow as well. Okay. If P minus 21 is greater than 7, if I was to add 21 to both sides, I get P is greater than 28. If I gave you some choices and asked you which one of these numbers were greater than 28, then you would circle all that apply. Well, 59 is greater than 28, 61. 28 is not, 28 is equal to 28, but it is not greater than 28, so I would not mark it, and then I would grade or circle 100. Okay, now let's talk about one thing. What happens if my variable is on the right side? So let's say we have 12 is less than x plus 7. Well, remember I liked for my arrow to be on the left, so the first thing I want you to do is rewrite this. Now, this time when you move this to the other side, this arrow gets flipped. Okay, so when I bring this over, that's x plus 7, this inequality sign gets flipped. Okay, because 12 was less than, so when if I switch it, 12 is still going to be on my less than end. So I have to flip that inequality, and then I'll solve it just like normal. And then I would graph it just like normal as well. Now my inequality, my variable is on the left, so my inequality symbol will determine which way I'm going to shade my numbers. Okay.